What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and some interesting news from over the weekend. Now, if you've been following the J.K. Rowling kind of debacle, you might be wondering, why does everybody hate J.K. Rowling? Well, quite frankly, I don't know either. All that she ever said was that gender and biology are a real thing. I don't think she said anything like aggressively anti anybody. She is exceedingly woke leftist. So it's always fun and hilarious to me when they eat their own. That said, of course, it's a perfect time to point out just how unhinged some of these people are. And over the weekend, some activists showed up at J.K. Rowling's house and took pictures at it and posted her address on the internet, essentially doxing her, in my opinion, in an attempt to intimidate or threaten her. This is the problem, is that so many of these quote-unquote activists are very close to other people who end in ists. They are bullies. They feel like whatever, there are no bad targets. Their ends justify their means. You see here, excuse me, J.K. Rowling slams trans activists for sharing address on social media. And again, why do these activists hate her? Is because she simply said biology is a real thing, as far as I understand. She's never said, hey, she's never said anything that I've seen that is inherently anti this group of people. She just has her lines in the sand as a feminist, that biology is a thing. Everyone knows my position. My position is that live and let live. You do you. But that's not good enough. There's been quite a bit of bad blood as of late. Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling has put several activists, trans activists, on blast for intimidating her by uploading photos of her UK address to social media. The 56-year-old fantasy writer condemned the demonstrators in a fiery tweet thread, which I'll show you in a minute, which has amassed thousands of likes as of Monday afternoon. This last Friday, my family's address was posted on Twitter by 3 activist actors, wrote J.K. Rowling, who said she receives endless threats over perceived phobic comments she made in 2020. Now, I've often said and lamented the fact that, again, you do you. You live your life. I wish you the best. I've lamented the fact how much energy is spent over such a tiny, tiny group of people. And it's bizarre to me how J.K. Rowling, we saw her get disinvited or uninvited from her own Harry Potter reunion special, which is bizarre to me. We've seen a whole slew of things. For somebody who is exceedingly, as I would call it, woke, activist Holly Stars said she later removed the photo, well, the internet's forever, after being bombarded with mean comments on social media, and all 3 have since deleted their Twitter accounts. Good. Good. Their intent was to put her life in danger, I believe. At minimum, their intent was to intimidate her and to inspire, likely, other people to show up at her house. This is one of those lines that you just don't cross. There are people that I strongly dislike. Pedro Pascal, for one. Although I don't like, it's not like that. I don't know if there's anyone that I really hate. People on the internet think that, just because I make a video about something that it's keeping me up at night. That isn't usually the case. But, posting someone's address online is not okay. Intimidating them in this manner is not okay. You disagree with a tweet this woman made 2 years ago or a year ago, and you're stalking her? While we stand by the photo, since posting it, we have received an overwhelming amount of serious phobic messages, so we decided to take it down. Love our trans siblings. I love how This is an expert in, and by the way, like, just like all online, you know, people that are inflammatory, like hashtag not all trans people. Every trans person I've met in real life, admittedly, obviously it's very few, but I do know, you know, several online, totally like fine, awesome people. Okay. I think that these activists, you know, they're the ones giving the brand a bad name. They're the ones going and demanding 31 flavors of bathrooms and all this other stuff, when most, I imagine, most trans folks are just trying to get on with their life like the rest of us. After all, the human struggle is one thing that we should all be able to relate on, the overwhelming, you know, majority of us. The tweet was signed by Stars and her compatriots, Energy and Frost. Sounds like normal people. In her Twitter thread, Rowling praised social media fans for reporting the photo to Twitter support and shouted out Edinburgh police for their support and assistance in the matter. The British billionaire ultimately deemed the incident par for the course given the amount of vitriol she's reportedly endured, which included various other extremely over-the-line threats. Indeed, this marks the latest episode in a trans row that's engulfed Rowling since June 2020, when she criticized an article that used the woman people who menstruate instead of woman. That's all it was. Her tweet was people who menstruate. She mocked in the inflammatory tweet. I'm sure there used to be a word for these people. Someone help me out. Wumben, wimpund, womund. The writer defended her stance in a subsequent tweet read, if gender isn't real, then there's no same gender attraction. If it isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. This resulted in fierce backlash from the trans community, as well as Harry Potter film stars, including Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson and Rupert Grint. That's because they all live in fear. The amount of power, and I'm not even talking about like the trans community. I'm talking about the tiny percent of that community that is like militant. The amount of power that they have is enormous on social media. Some of the most powerful in the outrage culture machine, in the outrage machine that have ever existed. Most recently in May, Harry Potter themed event at New Zealand Book Festival was canceled over her remarks. The author is notably absent from the upcoming Harry Potter 20th anniversary reunion, although it's unclear whether her stance is to blame. Of course it is. Here's the original tweet. Now they've deleted it, but there's no way Holly Stars is willing to give up that blue check mark, so they'll be back. But they wrote, yesterday we posted a picture we took at J.K. Rowling's house. While we stand by this photo, they conveniently leave out the fact that they posted her address on purpose. Since posting it, we got phobic comments. The only reply I can see is from a egg account that says, so you stalked a woman and now you're complaining that you are the victim. People are waking up. Again, I want to be clear. Wait a minute. Glad you're okay, but thoughts and prayers to the sub 100 follower account that got 5,000 positive notifications defending you. Yes, Pluck12341 is definitely one of my favorite tweeters. Oh, okay. So they actually replied to this, and I wonder if they got a bunch of followers. They got almost 2,000 followers. Here's the actual. Here, let's go to the thread. Last Friday, my family's address was posted on Twitter by 3 activist actors who took pictures of themselves in front of our house, carefully positioning themselves to ensure that our address was visible. Sorry. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who reported the image to Twitter support. Your kindness and decency made for all the difference to my family and me. I'd also like to thank the police for their support. I implore these people who retweeted the image with the address still visible, even if they do so in condemnation of these people's actions, to delete it. Over the past few years, I've watched appalled as women like Allison Bailey, Raquel Sanchez, and all these other people, including women who have no public profile, but who've contacted me to relate their experiences, have been subject to campaigns of intimidation, which range from being hounded on social media to the target of their employers, all the way up to doxing and direct threats, including the R word. None of these women are protected in the way that I am. They and their families have been put into a state of fear and distress for no other reason than they refuse to uncritically accept the socio-political concept of gender identity that should replace orientation. Or biology, I'll just say. I have to assume that these people, who now have all deleted their accounts after being tagged, thought doxing me would intimidate me out of speaking up for women's rights. They have been reflected on, they should have reflected on the fact that I have now received so many threats that I could paper the house with them, and I haven't stopped speaking out. Perhaps, and I'm just throwing this out there, the best way to prove your movement isn't a threat to women is to stop stalking and harassing and threatening us. Zoinks. Zoinks. Absolute savage. Not all these lefties are crazy, I guess. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you real soon.